In this video, we are going to pressure can chili beans. But we will be using the 915 All-American pressure canner. We will not use the bean soup off of the beans. We have about 2.5 inches of water in our canner. We will put our tray in the canner. I have sterilized 7-quart jars, and they are in the oven staying warm. For our ingredients, we are going to be using chili powder, onion powder, garlic powder, paprika, cumin, and non-iodized salt. In the pressure canner, I will put 1/4 cup of white vinegar. This will help keep the jars from turning cloudy. Once I get this all together and bring the beans down, we'll get started. Now, as we have our water heating up in the pressure canner, it's on low. I like putting my carpet square on the sink. Now we have everything ready. We have our vinegar in our pressure canner. We now have our beans downstairs. We have our jars out. They've been sterilized. We have our ingredients to the side. We are going to fill each jar about 2/3 full. And we'll just fill these jars according to how many beans we have. I'm just going to fill them and then we can come back. Now that we've filled our jars, we had enough beans to do 5 quarts and 1 pint. Now when this is pressure canned, this will time the same amount as the quarts, which will be 90 minutes. We will now add our 2 tablespoons of chili powder to each jar. Then we're going to do 1 teaspoon of onion powder in each. Then we go to our garlic powder. In the garlic, we were going to use 1 teaspoon as well. Our paprika, we're going to use 1 teaspoon. Then our cumin, 1 teaspoon. And then we will put 1 teaspoon of salt. Now remember, the pint is getting less than the other quarts. This is non-iodized salt. The next thing we're going to do is fill these jars up to the shoulder or neck of these jars. This is the shoulder and here's the neck. Our jars have been filled. Wipe them down. This is just to show what we're doing. This is the vinegar. So now we're ready to place the lids on. The lids have been sitting in some very warm water. Make sure your rings are plain. And the rings are going to go on finger tight. We're not going to put a lot of wrist movement into it. These are ready now to place into the canner. Once they're in the canner, we are going to put our lid on the canner, and you have a notch on the top of the lid and you have a notch on the can itself, and you will line those up. The next thing you want to do is make sure that the gap going around the lid and the canner are as evenly as you can get them. You will then pull up your toggles. You get your toggles on there. Then you're going to look at the gap. You can use the toggles to help tighten it up just a little bit to pull it down where you need it, to even them out. I'm not tightening them down yet. I'm just making sure that this gap in there is as even. If it's not, you're going to have a lot of steam escaping. Once you have them fixed the right way, you are going to, in opposite directions, tighten these down. For our elevation. So right now we're just going to wait for the steam to build up in the canner. We now have our timer set for 10 minutes. If you can see the steam. Okay, there you can see it. 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, we're going to put the weight on the vent. Our timer has gone off. So now we're going to build up our pressure and get these chili beans underway. Our gauge will get up to 15, but we're really going to go by the weighted gauge. So once it gets up to pressure, then we will time it for 90 minutes. Now at this time, you can see our visual gauge is on 15. And we are now starting to get the jiggling going. I will start reducing the heat at small increments because I only want this jiggler to be going off 3, 4, maybe 5 times per minute, but no more than that. We do not want this to be non-stop jiggling. Definitely don't want it to get overpressured. You can hear it jiggle and then it backs off. Now the visual gauge helps me to see that I'm not going beyond 15, but I actually watch the weighted gauge. And not only do I watch it, I mostly listen to it because that's the sound you want to hear. And I would say maybe 4 times per minute. This canner is not a large, like I say, it's the All-American 915. So it will only hold 7 quarts. And if I do more than that, then I have to let everything go down and then start over again with a new batch of product inside the canner. If you're doing a lot of canning, it's time consuming. These chili beans just came out of the canner. You can see they are still boiling. So we're going to let these sit for a day, or at least until tomorrow evening. Looks like they have sealed in the canner. And tomorrow we may open up the pint just to see what it's like. We have our canning chili beans.